Good morning, everybody. Wake up. Wake up, wake up. In Provincetown. This week featuring Wake up, wake up. Can I have some coffee? Wake up, wake up. Make it strong, please. Hey. Oh. Hey. Wake up, wake up. Oh. No, really, can I have some coffee? Wake up, wake up.
Good morning, everybody. It's Friday, June 9th. This is Wake Up in Provincetown. I'm Bob.
I'm Harrison.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, happy Pride Month.
Oh, yes, happy Pride Month.
Yeah.
Happy Pride Weekend specifically,
Yeah.
too. Boston Pride is this weekend, LA Pride. I'm so sad. As much as I love waking up in Provincetown, I'm so sad that I didn't wake up in Los Angeles today.
Why?
Because Mariah is doing LA Pride tomorrow on my birthday,
Work.
the same night that Janet Jackson is at the Hollywood Bowl.
That's incredible.
I know. And even if I were in LA, how would I be able to choose between the two? But I'm here.
But you just saw Janet.
I know. So I would probably go to LA Pride to see Mariah.
Nice.
So have fun, everybody in Los Angeles, Hollywood, all of my friends who are still writers striking. Go see Mariah. Have a night off from the picket line. Mm-hmm. Just go have fun this weekend in town.
Be prideful.
Yes.
Proud.
Are you proud this weekend?
Yeah.
Aren't you proud every day?
Every day, 365.
Oh my God, did you hear Pat Robertson died?
I did.
Happy Gay Pride.
Yeah. What was the joke Andrew wanted us to say? Only say good things about the dead.
You shouldn't speak ill of the dead, only good. Pat Robertson's dead, good.
There we go. Yeah.
That's a Betty Davis joke, right? I think she originated that. About Joan Crawford, she said it.
Yeah, but since we're talking about him, let's go into a little about him. So he, a conservative evangelist, Christian, he died, he was 93 years old. He started the Christian Coalition, which was a major contributor in moving the Republican Party to have a strong religious stance. He turned a small Virginia radio station into the global Christian broadcasting network, and all the shitty things he did to gay people. In 2013, in an interview, he said he wished Facebook had a vomit button react for when he saw a gay couple kissing. He blamed gay people and the gay rights movement for hurricanes and 9/11. But he was willing to accept trans people and saying that gender-affirming surgery could be done without sin.
He did?
Yeah.
Are you joking?
Yeah. No?
That's for real?
Yeah. I just think he's telling on himself and his kinks. Okay, let's do back to the show.
Okay.
Who do we have on the show today?
I got to sit down and talk with Justine Ives, who is the manager of the company that encompasses the Funk buses, the Mayflower trolleys, and they have a new venture as well that we got to talk about. And also, it was important to me, and I think to the show, to put a face to the housing crisis. Justine is a mother of 2 kids, married, a young family here, who was this close to having to leave, and you're gonna find out how they were able to stay in this interview. She's also just lovely and amazing and, fun to talk to.
Yeah. I also sat down with Pete Hocking and also Cole Cook to chat a little about their art last month. We have that interview for you. Mm-hmm. We also have Hubbel coming in from the Provincetown International Film Festival to talk about everything exciting happening this week for the International Film Festival.
And we've been promising you guys a spotlight on the current Dune Shack controversy. Here to talk about it with us is the Independent's editor, Paul Benson, and Mark Adams, our dear friend who's been on the show a few times, Artist of the Year. Who worked for the Seashore for 30 years. We're gonna get the deets.
Yeah, I'm excited for that.
How was your week?
It was really good. I know last week I had said that we had done a read through and a little bit of character work for the Fantastics, but we really got into rehearsals this week. I've been standing around a piano all week trying to learn this music. Mm-hmm. It's challenging, but I'm having a really good time doing it.
You don't already know some of it?
Oh, I know some of it, but it's one of those things. I'm like, yeah, I know this, and then when you have to know it enough to perform it, it's different. And also they, just the way it's written is challenging. It's not so much modern musical theater is written in pop music structure where it's verse, chorus, bridge, chorus. Where this is this verse is the same as the second verse, except instead of holding that note for 5 beats, it's a half step lower and you hold it for 7 beats. So it's just like everything is slightly different every time you do it. And just because everything has to line up perfectly, like you can't fudge it.
Well,
And I won't be doing that.
good.
Yeah. But I'm really excited. That opens July 10th and runs through Labor Day weekend, Monday through Thursday. Get your tickets.
You just got a good compliment on your shirt.
Oh.
Brother Wonderly likes your shirt.
Who? Oh, thank you. Bob's shirt is cute too. Tell us about your shirt.
Thanks. So obviously this is a tennis-themed shirt. This is the finals of the French Open. My very dear friend Christopher was recently in Paris where he saw this shirt hanging. He knows my birthday is tomorrow. It arrived in the mail the other day. And it is a Roger Federer shirt. And all of the proceeds go to various charities that are near and dear to Roger's heart. So, you know.
He's your
love.
fave, right?
I love him. He's retired now, of course, but
Yeah.
he's still out there doing good. Don't you love when something says we're supporting this and it tells you exactly what it's supporting?
I do.
This is that.
Yeah.
Did you see something recently that wasn't that?
Yeah, I'm just always confused when I see things with like a pride flag on it and it's like supporting LGBTQ plus people and I'm like scouring, I'm like, what charity does this support? And like, oh no, it's just having the pride flag on it is supporting them. I'm like, oh, so you're just making money.
Are you talking about anyone
No.
specifically?
Baby. But you know, I always try to like when I see things like that, and especially like a few years ago during all those like the Black Lives Matter protests and stuff, there was so much merchandise being pushed out, and so much of it wasn't connected to the cause. It was just like a cash grab for people. So you
Right.
just, as much as like you buying a T-shirt and wearing it shows that you support the cause, which does a little bit of good, like also when you buy things that support causes, that money should be going to the cause as well.
I think the Oxford Dictionary just rebranded the word allyship. It now means I make money off you, officially in the dictionary.
Well, I mean, this is Pride Month, and especially with everything going on with Target the past couple of months, people are noticing that a lot of businesses that do typically show support of Pride by like changing their logos on Twitter and things like that, they've noticed that a lot of companies aren't doing that. And I don't know if it's because of the pushback that Target had and Bud Light had against showing their support for the LGBTQ plus community, or if it's because the queer community has often dragged corporations for this like corporate allyship
Right.
being the same thing, just like a cash grab.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, either way.
Yeah. I think it's more on the person. Show your support and pride personally rather than through the money you spend.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It was Pride weekend in P-Town last weekend, and it was tons of fun. Again, it's one of my favorite weekends just because I feel like it really does attract a younger and more diverse crowd, which is definitely something that is talked about in town hall a lot in a lot of organizations, like how can we attract a younger, more diverse clientele and tourism base, because that is the key to the longevity of this community. And I think Pride weekend is definitely the best example of people actually making that work.
Absolutely. Last Saturday, I went to the A House Saturday night.
Work.
And I was like, am I a substitute teacher in a 7th grade class? Like everybody looked 12.
Which means there were 25.
I know. But every single person that I bumped into on the dance floor, I was like, well, I mean, aside from being like little, they were all like really short too. It's like they look like kids.
And
What
they're
are
like,
they doing
excuse
in
me,
here?"
sir.
I know.
And not in the sex way, in like the respect your elders way. Yeah.
Pa. Move over, Pa.
You like stumbled into like a London suburb in 1890.
No, but it was great.
Yeah.
It's nice because, there's this overarching idea that like, oh, young people can't afford to come here anymore. They can afford to come for one night over Pride weekend.
Yeah.
The town was full of them. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, there
youngins.
was tons of really incredible events. Sunday morning there was a 5K. There was also the Strawberry Moon party over at the Porch Bar by Babes and Boys. I didn't get to make it because I was at work, but I heard it was utterly incredible. If you don't follow Babes and Boys on Instagram, they are doing such an incredible job creating content and events around town, and they also do a really great job of having like their finger on the pulse of everything going on in Provincetown. Their stories every day are great to watch because they share anything and everything that's going on in town.
QR code is in the here.
Oh yeah. I also stopped by after rehearsal for the end of See You Next Tuesday, the Tuesday night party here at the brewery by Babes and Boys. It was tons of fun. Sam Sewell was DJing. Amazing viewing. Carmen's gonna be doing tarot card readings coming up. She did a really fun job. I heard she had 30 names on the list, but she couldn't get to all of them, so you're gonna have to wait until next time. Yeah.
Carmen also says happy early birthday, Bob.
What'd you say?
Carmen says happy early birthday.
Thank you.
I also stopped by the Dyke Dock party Sunday night after I got out of work, which was tons of fun. It was a Miley-themed Dyke Dock party. Maddie was spinning on her pole in the middle of the room. Kristen was running around with her megaphone. It was tons of fun. KT was DJing. It was awesome.
A good weekend.
Yeah.
A good time was had.
Did you get up and how did your interview go?
Oh, so last Saturday I was conducting an interview at 20 Summers at the Hawthorne Barn with Gina Rosero, who is my new BFF. We just kind of fell in love with each other. So like while the people were filing in and waiting for us, we were like in the green room. And she was just like, let's just get to know each other real fast. We have to be out there in 2 minutes. And then we just like did it.
What's your childhood like?
No, but it went really well. I had such a good time. I'm so glad that I had the opportunity to do that. So thank you to Alice and everybody at 20 Summers for inviting me to be a part of that. And I think Gina had a great time too. And then we went to the Red Inn and had happy hour. And you know, she was like, I'm not done getting to know you. Let's go have some oysters. So I was like, okay, it was fun. It was a really, really good time. And now that was the first stop on her book tour. Her book came out 2 days before the chat. And now she's, going all over the country.
Do you know if any of the bookstores in town are carrying her book?
Definitely the Provincetown Bookshop. Derek was there with books. She was signing books. And they said, I mean, not to brag, but Gina and I did really, really well. They were like, this is the most books we've ever sold at one of these things.
But you said that you had just been like, buy a book.
Well, as the chat was wrapping up, I was like, you guys, that's pretty much it. She's going to sign books that you're going to buy right now. And then everybody lined up to buy a book.
It's funny how that works.
Suggestive selling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it was a free event, and I'm sure it was an incredible event with you and her, and buy a book.
And a lot of my friends came, and I have friends who love to read, which is, a nice quality.
Read?
They love to read
Or
and
read?
both.
Oh, okay.
Read and, all of it. So
I like
thank
that.
you, everybody who came to that. It was very fun.
Yeah. Let's go over some of the events happening, and then we'll go over to Anne for the weather.
All right.
So Dina opened this week at the Crown and Anchor. Is she back in the cabaret room, or is she in the Paramount?
Tina's a Paramount girl.
She's grown into the Paramount. We love that.
So it's way too many for
I love that. Good for her. Yeah, I don't know if y'all know, but the Cabaret Room is going to be open for the first time since before the pandemic.
Wow.
I know Juo Santos is going to be there. The Divas are going to be there. That is Roxy, Kaya's, and Delta's all live singing tribute to legendary divas. That's going to be an amazing show. I cannot wait to see that.
Excellent.
Yeah, Tina Burner is now up at the Crown. Go see her show. Neon Demon Mackenzie's show opens this Friday. Paige Turner is at the Post Office Cabaret. I had some friends see her show on Saturday night. They said it was incredible. Anita and Illusions are over at the Post Office Cabaret as well.
And I'm over at the Post Office Cabaret this Thursday, June 15th. Is there a little thing right here, Andrew?
Oh, you did
Dun,
it.
dun, 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 dun. I did it. And the guests from my show this Thursday,
Who are they?
one of the guests, well, one of the pairs of guests, are the stars, the leads of the Provincetown Theater's production of The Fantastic.
Who's that?
Peter Toto and some other fag.
As some other fag.
Are you guys gonna do a song from the show?
Not from the show, we're gonna do a song.
Okay.
Yeah. The music is incredible from the show, it really is, but it is odd out of context. Yeah.
I love odd out of context.
Because it's all like really worked into the story, and there's very few songs in the show that are just like, this is a song. Like they move through the plot and
because it was pre-pop songs.
exactly,
Yes, I
exactly.
gotcha.
But I'm wicked excited.
I can't
I can't
wait
wait to be interviewed by you, Bob.
I know, I've never actually interviewed
Yeah.
you. I'm gonna ask the tough questions.
It's either all yes, yes, or no, it's like, no.
No,
Yeah.
I'm asking only open-ended questions, no yes or no's.
Perfect. Dana Denzel is also at the Governor Bradford doing karaoke, as well as Miller Brooks Saturday night at the Grotto Bar doing karaoke. Tonight is the grand opening of not only Wiley's show at the Sean Treadwell Gallery, but it is the grand opening of the brand new Treadwell Gallery at the his new location in the East End. Are you?
Gallery.
The gallery. I'm gonna kill you. It's because it's the weird way you say gala rubbing off on me.
I say gala.
Okay, whatever.
Oh, by the way, I just have to get this out really quick. The other day, an old friend was sitting at the bar at the Red Inn, and you never know who's watching this. I didn't know that this friend watched it every week.
Everyone in town watches this.
Well, sure, but then for him to come and sit at the bar and go, "Why do you hate the berries so much?" And I was like, and I was working, so I wasn't exactly sure what he meant. I was like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "The berries, the neighborhood, bayberry, blueberry," and I was like, "I never said I hate the berries."
That's me who talks
Him.
shit. I'm just kidding.
And I said that. I was like, "Harrison said that," and he was like, "Oh, you're right."
No,
Maybe
but
it was
I don't
Harrison."
hate them.
You said something. You were talking shit on the berries one time.
I
Tell them the truth.
that community is just very. It feels set up very different from the rest of the town. And
I think you owe an apology to the berries.
I just think more people should live over there. I think you should have more neighbors.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
that's sweet.
Yeah, exactly.
That requires a zoning change.
Exactly.
Oh, that's what you were saying.
Which, like, I'm not saying, you know what I mean? It's just like, we need more housing.
The show loves the berries.
Yeah, we love everyone. I have so many friends that live over there.
I just thought it was so funny that he said that.
Do they live in the berries?
Yes.
Okay. Let's find out what the weather is going to be with Ann Hutchinson.
Hello everyone, it's me Ann Hutchinson, your weather correspondent, and today for the weather, well, there's this hazy quality to the air. It's almost like there's a natural sepia tone in the air from our blazing planet. So I thought, what a wonderful day to film my own documentary, especially with Provincetown's film festival happening today. I'll have a late entry today, and we're all gonna need a good dock to get through this smoky air. You jump right off the dock and you fill your lungs with salty water, and then you won't have to worry about coughing. So we're gonna film this documentary, and we're gonna find some people to really share their thoughts. Wait! Do you want to be on my documentary? I'm the weather person in town, and I can never fucking find the weather. Do you have anything to say about the weather?
It deviates.
Yes,
It's very
exactly.
changeable.
Yes.
The sun was out a little bit earlier,
Oh,
and now
yeah.
it's overcast.
That is exactly how I feel about the weather. Well, enjoy yourselves out here, all right?
Thank you.
Whatever the weather brings. One thing that I want to do is I want to say, could you say it into the mic like a hot guy or something like that? And then I want them to come towards the mic, and I'll go like this. No? Oh. Do you want to be in my documentary?
I'd love to be.
You do films? Do you have any tips for me?
Yeah, you figure out what your good side is.
Right, well, it's this one. So.
Yeah, obviously.
All right, I'll talk to you like
yeah,
this.
So we'll just speak like this for the rest
Okay,
of
great.
the yeah.
Oh, could you speak into the mic, darling?
Of course, yeah.
Sorry. Is this where we buy tickets? Yes. Oh, wonderful. I'm so excited. So, listen, who do I send my documentary to for the film festival? Because, it's going to be a late entry. And I'm going to get in by a late entry, if you know what I mean. You looking for that? My doctor said I had too much wax in my ears, and they're very itchy under this bathing cap. Don't put that in. It says keels, right, on the front here, and my face looks like the keel of a fucking ship. What can I do for it? Moisturizer. All right, we'll moisturize. That's funny for a keel of a ship to not be moisturized, but I guess I can't really explain. Everyone wants to come out here and film something about
we
this
come
is
here
a special place or something. I don't know, a lot of
Anything goes. No
Well,
judgment here.
I don't know. I thought it was all the anal sex between men. Everyone's obsessed.
Well, that could be part of it.
It's like everyone wants to talk about it. I don't know. I gotta check my lines. My God, I know it's a documentary. You're not supposed to have lines, but tell that to the Bad Girls Club. My goodness. Where in the world
I'm not
is
singing.
Carmen Sandiego? We don't know where she is. We're looking for her. Have you seen her?
No.
No. It's like a carrot in front of a horse or something. Just put the camera in front of Anne and she will continue to walk. She never stops walking. Do they chew it for you here? Because
No.
I think a real problem with the restaurant industry is that they do not chew your food for you. You have to chew your own fucking food in the restaurant. It's disgusting. Are you a server, bartender? What do
I'm
you
a
do?
server, yes.
Wonderful,
Yeah,
excellent.
yeah.
Well, you are, and I'm gonna say this straight into the lens, one of the nicest fucking people in this town.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh, I don't know that we're supposed to, I don't know if it's like a public thing or not, but that is Kaya Crystal, probably practicing for her show. Who? Yes, I am Anne Hutchinson. How did you know that I was Anne Hutchinson?
Well, we're hoping to take your tour.
It's interesting how many of my fans wear those shoes.
Oh, I wonder why.
I don't know. It's good for walking and
It
learning
is.
about
Oh, I like
history.
it.
I thought you had to pee. Let's go pee. Where's Alex Morse? He's gone. He smelled me. Do you want to be in my documentary?
Yeah.
Hi there. So what do you do in town?
What do? I am a talk show host, a bartender.
Oh, very nice. I'm on a talk show too.
You are?
Yeah, I don't know. And so it's the Provincetown Film Festival. Are you excited?
I can't wait.
Yeah.
Really excited.
Right, yeah, there's this like sort of thing going on which, you know, the air is smoky and therefore everyone looks kind of good, right? Like maybe with all the smoke in the air we can finally do public drag in the United States.
From your mouth.
All right, well, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. I love her. Thank you, Anne. Did you see me?
Who was that person in it?
Me.
Oh.
It was me. I was just biking down the street and I love her so much that I stopped to say hi. Thank you so much for the weather report, Anne. Did she say anything about the air quality?
There is air and it has a quality.
I'm more into air quantity over air quality.
So stupid.
I stole that joke from a friend of mine. Thanks,
Yeah.
Tim.
Oh, listen. One more thing. So my birthday is tomorrow. I have to work. I'm off on Sunday. If you
Yeah.
guys are in town on Sunday,
Come in tomorrow to the Red Inn
yes,
and tip me and Bob.
come say hi at work.
his
But also
birthday.
Sunday, I'm having a little beach. It's not called a bonfire. I found out when I went to get the permit. A campfire, a beach fire. So there's going to be a beach fire at Herring Cove Sunday evening at 6:30, Herring Cove North, which is the right side. And I don't know if you know this, but if you go to get a permit to do a beach fire, you can only have 20 people max at a beach fire. And so Peter went to get, I hope also nobody who works there is watching this. If you are, turn it off right now. Peter went to get a permit for the campfire, and then he noticed that there was only one more slot for Herring Cove North. They only do 3 permits per section of each beach, right? You know? So Peter goes, just so we don't get in trouble for having too many people, go get a permit for the same beach so that we can have 2 fires and like more people. Apparently that's not allowed. So I went into the Race Point Visitor Center and I was like, may I have a permit for a camp or for a bonfire? And they said, it's not a bonfire. And I was like, okay, well, can I have a permit for whatever you guys call it? And then when I told them what my address was, they were like, somebody with that same address already applied for a permit today. We can't issue 2 permits for the same address. And I was like, well, that's my upstairs neighbor. Peter stays upstairs sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes Bob falls asleep on the couch.
Yeah, sometimes I'm on the couch. And they were just like, no. So then I went and got a friend of mine and drove them to the thing and was like, go in and get, and this person has never done it before. So he's like, well, will you come in and help me? I was like, no, because I just was here and she's gonna see me. I'm gonna sit
You
in
should
the
have worn
car.
one of those glasses with the noses.
And so my friend went in there and he's like texting me being like, she just asked if we're gonna have pets. I was like, no pets. And so she can see him doing this and she's like, are you friends with the person who just came in here and tried to do this?
What is this?
And she looked at the book, she goes, are you friends with Peter Sullivan? And he goes, that's a trick question. Everyone's friends with Peter
Honestly,
Sullivan.
though.
He goes, this is a small town and we're all friends with each other and you're obviously trying to keep us from having a larger fire. So will you just tell me what the rule is? How far apart do these 2 fires have to be? And she didn't have an answer for him.
Typical for the seashore.
Right, so he was like, are we allowed to, are 2 of my 20 people allowed to walk over and say hi to them? And she didn't have an answer for that either. So there's gonna be 2 fires close to each other on Sunday. And come to one or both of them.
I love how you can't have more than 20 people, but to the 700 people who watch our show every week, please come to our bonfire.
Just don't all come at the same time. We're gonna get in trouble either way. So
Yeah, we'll have a bouncer.
No, my friend came out to get back in the car and he goes, "She's on to us, man." And I was like, "Fuck."
This is gonna be like the only time ever that someone goes out and like enforces the rules.
No, they do come and they make sure that you have the permit. They don't always count, but sometimes they're like, you know.
But
it's a birthday.
Regardless, I'm not saying regardless of the rules, but like abide by the rules, but also always be safe. Have water nearby. Don't bury your fire. You're not supposed to do that.
We always follow the rules to the T. Peter Sullivan, who everyone is friends with, always follows the rules to the T.
That we know.
No glass.
No dogs. It's
piping plover
stupid
season.
Bird season.
Mark Adams is gonna slap you.
No, that's a fact. They're stupid birds. I'm not saying they should die, but they're dumb.
They're dumb.
Yeah.
He's dogs are dumb too. Thank you, Mark. People are dumb too.
Yeah.
And I saw a coyote this big the other night there.
At the beach?
Yeah.
No coyotes at the bonfire. I mean the beach fire.
I saw someone post that they were like, I just saw a coyote over on blah 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 street. I'm like, are we supposed to be posting every time? Because I see like 3 or 4 a day.
Blah 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 street.
Yeah. Let's get through. Okay.
Is the gallery on blah 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 street?
Okay. I need my computer to turn back on. Okay, we've got some news.
Oh.
One thing I did forget to mention was the Piano Lounge at the Gifford House Inn did announce their lineup. We spoke with Billy and Sue. They are there Saturday and Sunday nights.
Yes.
Monday night is Cody Plays. I heard our very own Margaret played the Ocean in Cody's.
You did?
Yes.
Very much typecasting. That's that is Monday night with Cody. You may also know them as Saltine.
Cody plays well with others.
Tuesday night is open mic with Johnny Bassoni.
Fun.
Tuesday is the Lucy Little Bacon.
Lucy.
I don't
Lucy from
know.
the pharmacy. You know Lucy.
Oh yeah. Wednesday night is Mike Sullivan. I had a few friends go see that. They said it was incredible. Thursday is one of my faves, Brittany Rolfs. That's
The
gonna
other
be
guest on my June 15th show, Brittany Rolfs. I can't wait to see her.
It's all musical
jaws
theater all the
shut.
time this Wednesday. You have to open with like cabaret or something.
Okay.
Yeah. And then Friday is To Be Announced.
Who's that?
I don't know. My drag name is now To Be Announced, and it's me Friday night.
To be announced.
To Be Announced. When I went to high school, there was this group of girls who started a band, and they called it Many More. In reference to Mandy Moore, but also, do you know how it'd be like, the VMAs, it's this person, and many more. So they were like, oh yeah, we're gonna be there. Yeah. Okay, I have other. This past Wednesday, it was the official kickoff of Pride Weekend in Boston. Also, happy Pride to Boston. It is their weekend. And to celebrate, they did a pride flag raising over at the Massachusetts State House. Our very own Senator Julian Cyr and also Representative Sarah Peake were there. Maura Healy ran the event, and a bunch of drag queens also were there. There's about 15 drag queens. Our very own Misconception was there, as well as Trevor and Steven from the Provincetown Business Guild. They raised the pride flag and also had performances by Neon Calypso, who's a good friend of mine. She is utterly incredible. If you don't know them, check them out.
And if you missed the first Showgirls on Monday,
Who won?
Debbie Kendall. Debbie, who has lived here previously, went to LA for the winter, like performed all winter all over the place on the West Coast, and came back and slayed.
Awesome.
So, it's already begun. The race for Showgirl of the Year 2023. It's going to be a hotly contested one.
Yeah, this Monday for Showgirls, it is Tina Turner themed.
Oh, it's awesome. Are you going to go? You have to host trivia?
Yeah.
Oh.
So, but maybe
Go
that
afterwards.
gets out in time. Come to trivia on Monday as well. What else did we got? So we spoke last week about the mural over at the Harbor Hotel. And I picked up a copy of the Provincetown Independent that came out yesterday, and they did a little article with a lot more information about it. The biggest takeaway from the article they love is they got into contact with Louis Masai, who is the artist who created that, and asked him what he thought about it. And I loved what he had to say. He said, "I think my art should always be disappearing. It's public art. I don't own the wall. which was kind of your sentiment last week.
Yeah.
And the rest of his sentiment was partly in line with what I had said. He said, people are making this much of a fuss about a painting of a right whale disappearing. How about they care more about the real ones disappearing?
That is a nice statement.
Yes. And what I had said last week was like, I love people bemoaning the fact that this mural is disappearing and not the fact that the housing crisis is pushing out countless artists and creators every year.
That's true.
Yeah. We already covered that Pat Robertson died. Again, good. This past week at a school board meeting in Glendale, California, violence erupted between far-right protesters and queer rights demonstrators outside of that school board meeting. The school district was scheduled to vote on recognizing June as Pride Month. About 200 anti-gay protesters showed up and violence broke out before 6 p.m., which was before the meeting. Police attempted to break up the crowd, but they were unable. The school board inside was given a shelter-in-place order. There was a video that has over 1.5 million views of the scuffle, and the poster of that video did say that it was the far-right protesters inciting the violence.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah.
Didn't the HRC just announce its first ever state of emergency for all LGBTQ people all over the country?
Yeah.
Be careful out there, you guys. It's Pride Month, it's Pride Weekend. There are people out there who wish us harm and who will show up to disrupt our events. And I just would encourage everybody to try love. Be careful. I'm worried about people in Boston especially.
Yeah, oh yeah. Also this past week, a federal judge has partially blocked the enforcement of Florida's ban on healthcare for transgender children. The law restricted doctors from prescribing puberty blockers and also hormone replacement therapy, which not only affects transgender youth, but also transgender adults. Basically, the ruling was fairly blunt. The judge, who is Judge Hinckley, basically said gender identity is real, and that the creators of the bill and the law, there was contradictory language. They basically were saying that they acknowledge that trans people are real within the law, but also say gender identity isn't real within the law. So that was one of the main reasons that they struck it down. So that is there. I have started to see a lot of judges striking down these drag bans and these bans on gender affirming care, which is really great. I think there was actually in Tennessee a Trump appointed judge struck down the drag ban, which is the tiniest sigh of relief. I'm like, oh, maybe it's not all horrible and bad, and maybe people are still abiding by the law rather than their own agendas. Maybe.
Well, people are paying more attention.
Yeah, exactly.
And especially, I think the Supreme Court, it's easy to think that it's just a bunch of, corrupt partisan hacks. And it's only 5 out of 9 are corrupt partisan hacks. It's almost 50% decent people.
Great. That's a good ratio. In a couple, we'll end it with a couple happy news stories. Beanie Feldstein married her longtime girlfriend Bonnie Chance Roberts on May 20th, but she just announced it. She released some pictures. It looked like a beautiful wedding. It was at a summer camp in Port Jarvis, New York. They said that they wanted to be summer camp themed because both of Beanie's grandparents had met at summer camp, so there's this legacy of love happening at summer camps. It looked really beautiful. They both wore Gucci. Bonnie Chance wore a beautiful Gucci wedding suit. It looked really lovely.
Beanie got up to serenade her new bride, and Leah Michelle showed up to do the song. Weirdly.
Is that even weird? I think that is all I have for news. Oh, we didn't even mention that Trump got indicted on 7 counts last night in connection with the probe regarding classified documents that happened a few months ago.
If you were at Thanksgiving back in the day and one of your family members was chanting "lock her up" at you, I'm not saying rub this in their face, but
we love to rub things in people's faces.
I mean, wasn't this inevitable?
I mean, no, but yes. It's one of those things where, over the past 4, 5, 8 years, every time there's so many moments where I'm like, oh my God, it's happening. He's going down. And now I'm like, oh, he got indicted on 7 charges. let me know when he's in shackles, then I'll celebrate.
Right.
You know what I mean? It just
Yeah.
seems like nothing ever sticks. Nothing ever is as serious as it
Teflon
seems.
Don.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Good work, prosecutors.
Yeah, that's all I've got for news this week. Let's get on the funk bus.
Yeah, let's take a ride on the funk bus with Justine Ives.
Morning, everybody. I'm sitting in one of the funk buses with Justine Ives. Justine is the manager of what is sort of an expanding empire that includes the fleet of funk buses. I didn't know there were so many. The Mayflower trolleys, the Cape cabs, and now what's the new excursion part of the business?
Mayflower excursions.
Yeah, this is a lot.
It is.
So, how did it all get started?
So it all started with Mercedes cab, and if you remember them, the old Mercedes cabs that were driving through town. And then Cape Cab, and they joined forces, so it was just a cab company. And then from there, everything just kind of started to grow. We had the funk bus idea all started with, it was a funky cab, and it was with Jake Azer and Perline and Raph came up with the idea, and they had Joey Mars paint the outside of it, and we put a big sound system in it and lights and a karaoke machine, and would drive down Commercial Street picking people up and having a good time in the cab. And then eventually it expanded, and we bought a first short bus. I think it was in 2010 or something, and me and Stephen Wells actually painted that bus, and then it just expanded from there, and now here we are, and we've got 12 of them,
And some,
including
like,
full-size
That's what I was
ones.
going to say, some big buses.
We have 5 full-size ones
I've
now.
ridden one of these to the Beachcomber before.
Oh, yeah.
It is a good time.
It's
if you
fun.
if you get some friends together to rent a funk bus and leave town for the afternoon.
Yeah.
And when did the Mayflower trolleys begin?
That started, I keep trying to remember. It started off with the guys from the Boston Harbor Cruise. Raphael did it together, and then last year, I think that was like 5 or 7 years ago, and last year Raph got it all together, and so now it's the second year that it's totally just ours.
And this summer you're starting some excursions in new vehicles.
Yeah.
What are they? Tell me again.
So we're gonna have 3 main tours that'll be on a main schedule, and then we'll also do custom tours. It's the National Seashore Tour. We'll take you all through the Provincetown National Seashore and go into Truro and do a little hike. And then we'll do the Lighthouse Tour. We'll take you to the Highland Lighthouse. And then the Locally Sourced Tour, which will be a 4-hour tour. The first ones are 2-hour tours. And we'll go they all start in Provincetown at Town Hall, and then that one will shoot out to Wellfleet. We'll have some oysters in the harbor, some bubbly, and then make our way back to P-Town. We'll stop at hopefully Chiquessa Chocolate. We're going to be stopping in the Truro Vineyard for some wine and spirits tasting. They have the food trucks there too. Atlantic Spice, and then ending at the P-Town Brewery for some
That sounds like a
beer
perfect
tasting.
afternoon. That's so much fun.
And you can go with your friends or meet new people if you're just, 2 or 3 people, or even 1 person.
That sounds so great.
Yeah. So I hope to. And there's a lot of room for, it's like endless amount of ideas for tours that you can do. So they'll change in the season and on theme weeks and stuff.
Excellent.
So, yeah.
And you're out here raising a family with Eddie. 2 little ones.
Yes.
How old?
3 and 5.
And tell everybody how you met him.
We met in Rio de Janeiro, like 2010, at the Rio Party Hostel.
And Eddie had never been here before.
No, he came with me back to here.
He
The
came
time I
for
was a
love.
cab driver, so I was like telling him about that in this crazy little town. So, and he's from Bristol in the UK, and so he likes to party. So he's like, I'll come here. I'll come with you to P-Town.
You guys might know Eddie from his DJ gigs, or he also tends bar at the post office cafe,
Yeah.
where I have tortured him, and he came to torture me at work. And he's a fun bartender and a fun guest to see walk through the door. He's a good time.
Yeah. has told me that he likes to pick on people and then get picked on back.
It's intentional. I knew it. He comes in and he's like, "Hey!" I'm like, "Oh boy, here we go." Well, you guys are having a good time.
Yeah, we're doing good. Very busy, but trucking along. Definitely can't complain. So.
And you were able to secure year-round housing that you are not in danger of losing.
No, hopefully not. As long as, yeah, it's we were really lucky and won an affordable house about 3 years ago, and it was a lottery system. But at the time, I was pregnant with Mila, the second child, and we had Rio. And do you want me to tell the whole thing? So basically, it was at the beginning of a summer, and we were supposed to we had secured housing, a rental, and then we were staying at our friends. Michelle and Jenna was waiting for that to happen, and then it fell through at the last minute. So what was supposed to be a 2-week stay ended up being like 4 months of us basically being homeless, all living in a room at their apartment. Thankfully, they were wonderful.
A family of 3 about to be 4 in another couple's apartment.
Yes.
For 4 months.
For 4 months.
Sounds like a sitcom.
I know, it was pretty crazy, but it was great. It was kind of like I was a day shift, they were the night shift. We were just like continually crossing paths, and they didn't mind Rio like running up and down the hall constantly, torturing their little dog that they also had. But yeah, to win the lottery, because I was pregnant, we fell into the right bracket to be able to get it. And so at the last minute, I was like, we have to get it. Got tons of paperwork together, but we got it. So,
Congratulations.
so thankful. So, yeah.
That's like one less thing to worry about.
Oh, totally.
And it's such the math is like, you make too much money for 3 people, but you were like, we're actually 4.
Yeah, exactly. Like, actually, there's another one. Like, all right.
That's lucky. That's really lucky.
It was very lucky. So,
Where can somebody like book a funk bus?
you can go online to our website. It's just thefunkbus.com. I think it's also under Cape Cod Party Bus. So they lead you to the same place.
And MayflowerTrolley.com as well if you want to check out the trolleys. You guys hop a ride, go on an adventure with Justine, support these guys. It's so colorful and so fun. I love this so much. Thank you for making some time to talk to us.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Yeah, with the buses, I just want to make them happy. So like when you're driving around and then you just see some crazy thing driving, you're like, ah. So,
You can't not smile when you see them.
Yeah, that's my biggest intention with that. So it's been a ton of fun.
It's working.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And we'll see you guys soon.
Bye.
Hi.
What are you doing? That looked really exciting.
It is, and I'm so glad. Did you hear the part of that story where like they were applying for affordable housing, and the people were like, "You couple with 1 child, you make too much money for 3 people." And Justine was like, "There's a 4th right here," and they were like, "Oh, you're eligible."
Oh, no way.
Like they literally, the unborn child secured affordable housing for their parents.
Damn.
Isn't that unbelievable? So please welcome to the show Miss Ann Hubbel, the director of the Provincetown International Film Festival. Thank you for making some time to be here today.
Thanks.
Yeah, you've got a busy week ahead of you, I imagine.
I do.
Yeah. Is this the ramping up, or is it like everything's been done and now it's like kind of let it all happen, or
Yeah,
both?
there's like a little calm before the storm happening right now, but there's still plenty to do. Lots happening.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. When do guests start arriving? When do things start airing?
Tuesday, Wednesday, guests start arriving. Opening night is Wednesday. So super exciting. Box office is open on Commercial Street.
Where
Get tickets.
Do you use the firehouse?
No, we're at the old Soft as a Grape location. So
okay.
we have an empty storefront on Commercial. So come on in. We're right next door to the bookstore.
Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah.
And you can stop in, buy tickets to the showings.
You can get tickets. You can get passes. You can get information. Yeah.
Really cool.
Yeah.
Who are you most excited to see?
Well, I love them all.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about our honorees this year. We were just talking about Megan Stalter coming, and very excited about that. If anybody watches,
if you don't know Megan Stalter, if you haven't watched the show Hacks, she's on Hacks. But kind of what catapulted her into the pop culture zeitgeist was she did an impression online of corporations during Pride Month, and it started with "Hi, gay," which became a Pride Month slogan.
Yeah.
And then she's been in everything.
Yeah, so she's coming. She's fantastic. I'm excited about that. Our other next wave honoree is Julio Torres, who was a writer on Saturday Night Live and has a one-man show called My Favorite Shapes. He's also on Los Spookies. He's directed his first feature starring Tilda Swinton and himself. So he'll be here. Billy Porter is our acting honoree. Super excited to have Billy here. And we're honoring Bruce LaBruce, who is like an experimental, kind of like very influential filmmaker. And he'll be in conversation with John Waters, who's
really cool.
so great. Always great to have John around. And I think that conversation will be really interesting because they'll have a lot to say about queer cinema and their careers.
Really cool.
Yeah.
One thing I love about the Provincetown International Film Festival is like as much as it brings incredible celebrities here, it also has a mission of supporting local work, and I know you have a bunch of kind of local-oriented stuff happening at the film festival. One of the things I'm really excited about is there's one about sharks, which always fascinates and terrifies me.
Yeah, so there's a documentary called After the Bite. It's about a shark attack that happened in Truro. You know, so it's about the attack, but it's also about ecology and, you know, what's making the sharks come in and that sort of thing. So I think maybe the world premiere for that one. And then we have another documentary called In the Whale, which is about
Michael Packard.
Yes. So it's about the story of him being in the mouth of the whale for a little while. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm excited about that too. And then tons of other local work. We really made a huge commitment to Provincetown and to local Cape artists this year. So we have Arthur Egley's feature, Art Thief, which we're all excited about. He shot it in Provincetown. We have a ton of local shorts that'll be at the festival. So there's 2 local shorts programs that are basically Cape filmmakers. And then there's another local shorts program that's New England Shorts. And then there's like 5 other shorts programs. So I always say, if you can't decide what to see a shorts program.
Oh yeah, totally. You get to see a bunch of stuff all
Yeah.
at once.
Yeah.
Is there a kickoff party on Wednesday?
There's a kickoff party at Wednesday at the Crown and Anchor. You can go see Cora Bora, starring Meg Stelter, and she'll be there. And then we'll have a party at the Crown afterwards. And then closing night, we're gonna shut down Commercial Street between Bobola's and Local and have a big party for our 25th anniversary. It's the 25th anniversary year.
That is so
congratulations.
exciting. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. I mean, this is kind of towards the beginning of festival season, so it's really exciting. You get to see a lot of new works that are then going to go on to go everywhere else. I know the premiere of Chrissy Judy, Todd Flaherty's film last year, then it like swept went through every circuit, festival circuit in the world. So it's really exciting stuff you get to watch here in Provincetown.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah. Fenton Bailey's coming too, right?
Fenton Bailey is coming. So we're bringing back something. It's a fundraiser for the organization called the Evan Lawson Luncheon. And it's something that talks about how an event that really shines a light on how media influences our social lives and advocacy. And so Fenton has written a book called Screen Age. And for those of you who don't know who Fenton is, among other things, he is the producer of RuPaul's Drag Race, but many, many career achievements prior to that as well.
He created World of Wonder, which is kind of the first, not only created by a gay person, but also it's very queer-oriented. Like the things they produce. I think one of the first things they did was Party Monster, which is one of my favorite films. And he produces every iteration of Drag Race across the world.
Yes, he does. They did Eyes of Tammy Faye, and so that company's really amazing. And his book is about the influence of queer media on culture all over the place. And he'll be in conversation with Carson Kressley. Yes.
Speaking of Drag Race.
Yes. So I think it'll be interesting to hear about his career and the book, but also just the politics of everything that's happening in drag right now. So I think it's going to be a substantive conversation as well.
Yeah. Awesome. Really exciting.
Yeah.
Well, you have a busy week ahead of you. Good luck.
We do. Thank you so much.
Don't forget to take time to rest in between all these fun activities.
There's no time for that.
Rest next week. Yeah.
No rest for the weary.
Yeah. You guys come to the festival.
Yeah, come to the festival, stop by. The Old Soft is a great location and get information, tickets, everything passes, and we'll see you out there this week. Good luck.
Thanks, Ian.
Thank you.
Let's take it away to Pete Hocking and Cole Cook. I sat down with them last month at the Commons. A big thank you to the Commons for setting this all up. Let's chat with them. Everyone, we are here at the Commons with Cole Cook and Pete Hocking, two local artists here in town. Thanks so much for sitting down with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you. So you'll both have work available to be viewed over the summer here in Provincetown. What brought you both to this area? When did you come to Provincetown? The whole deal. What made you fall in love? We'll start with.
I'll start with this. I started, my family is at a house in Truro, so I've been brought out here before I had one birthday, so this was a very safe place for me, and it was a place that I always was in commune with the trees, especially, and the land. And 2 years into the pandemic, when I was in Los Angeles and felt disconnected, it might seem sentimental, but I believe that this is a place that I can go look for myself or for my heart when it's like missing from me. And so I came here with just really wanting to find a center and finding calm. I've been looking for an exploration artistically for about 10 years, ever since I retired from professional baseball. And this came out once I was here, and once I have a beautiful relationship with Pete. He invited me to start walking with him, and through that collaboration, it's a longer answer, but yeah, I came through my family, and that led me back here in 2021.
So, like, so many people think they're leaving P-Town or the Cape, and they always end up back. How long have you been here in P-Town?
You know, I got here in 2012, sort of full time, but like Cole, I had family who were on the Cape. My mother's cousin lived in Wellfleet, and when I was 14, I sort of got dropped off for the summer with my 10-speed, and I would just sort of tool around. And you know, there's a place on Ocean View Road in Wellfleet where I had this like revelation that I was going to be an artist and I was going to live here and I was going to make paintings about this place. And I went home and I just sort of burst out with everyone with this revelation because I was really pumped. And my parents were like, "You're not living here. There are no jobs. And number two, you're not being an artist because artists are queer." And it's like, huh. And then that was sort of a thing in the late 1970s and 80s, and my family was that like Provincetown was being ruined by the gays. And so I had my 10-speed and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna check that out." So I would in the afternoons when my aunt would take a nap, I would like run to Provincetown on my bike and find my people.
And you did it, you showed that.
It took me 30 years, but here I am.
So I want to talk a little about the mediums that you work in. Cole, do you mostly work in this really cool like mixed media?
So this fell out this winter. I had been sculpting and kind of doing like I'm a big person, and I was modeling myself and modeling my hands. All of my work is about the connection between human forms and other natural forms, trying to ask my audience to think of themselves as a part of the world as opposed to apart from the world. These were ruminations, I've talked to Pete about this, sculptures that I've seen in the landscape, like when trees at that dawn, that dusk hour rather, they just turn to black and they make pockets in the sky. All those types of things. This fell out this winter, and it's been really interesting to do it. But again, it's for me, it seems similar. It's another way of exploring what we are and how we experience this is interacting in natural shapes. It's why I like bubbles. It's why I like putting wood behind it.
That's really cool.
Thank you.
And Pete, I've seen your work around town for many years now, and I've always admired the beauty and the color and the light that you use. How has the journey getting to there been?
You know, I part of the basis of our friendship is that we spent a lot of time in the landscape. And so for me, being here is as much about being in 70% of town that tourists don't know about, the National Seashore, and actually being immersed in the natural world here. And then when I get back to the studio, I transpose those experiences into paintings. And part of my process is to try to create a painting that's the feeling of being there rather than the literal reality of it. So I tend to hyper-saturate my colors because I think the experience of like walking out to the Atlantic on like a pitch perfect day, it lasts in it's in Technicolor in your head. It's not in that weird flat green that the grass is in August. It's like boom. So that's what I try to bring into my
Success. So you are at the 411 Gallery. What is your position there?
I am the curating manager, which in some ways I sort of do a little of everything.
Mm-hmm.
We have a summer manager who really carries the gallery in the height of the season, but we're a 12-month-a-year gallery. So I kind of manage it in the off season and work with our artists, set up our calendar for the year. And work very closely with Liz Carney, who's the real genius about collecting this group of artists and creating the real sense of family of the gallery. We're a gallery that's all about artists who are living and working on the Outer Cape.
I love that, yeah. And I love that there's so many different artists represented in that gallery, but it all kind of comes together in this really interesting and fun way.
Well, I think that's really Liz's, pure genius, is that the gallery feels like a living room in the sense that, you can imagine all of these artists being in your house, and it all just harmonizes.
And you're going to be showing here at the Common in October?
I'm showing at the Commons in October. I'm doing a joint show with a friend of mine, Aaron Paskauskas, who's also, he lives in Wellesley, but he works out in Truro as well. So he and I both do a lot of wood and both do a lot of figure stuff, so we'll be showing here. When I first moved here in December of 2021, I just happened to arrive on a day that Pete was opening a show.
Perfect.
And I was a little lost boy, so I just wandered into his opening. And I had been going to art openings. I've got artists in my family in summer art openings. And the ones I remember were just like a room of a bunch of people. And I was like, this is fantastic. I'll sneak in. I might steal a wine. No one will notice me. I'm 6.5 feet tall, so no, that's never ever happened.
And it's December.
But I walked into a room and it's Pete and Liz and Helen, and they were all just like, hi. And I was like, oh, I'm not invisible at all. Pete was very gentle about coming up, and the next day we were walking. So yeah, Pete that's the reason I'm at the Commons, the reason I understand so much of the artist community out here. He was just wonderful in inviting me in and allowing me to. That desire that I expressed, to be like, that's perfect. I think that where you are is okay. I think there are people that here that want you to be here. And that was lovely. Aww, friendship.
Well, thank you so much for sitting down with me this morning.
Thank you.
I can't wait to see your work all over town this summer.
Excellent.
That was so much fun sitting down with Pete and Cole. Please welcome Paul and Mark.
Back to the show.
Yeah.
You guys, for those of our viewers who aren't up to speed, can you give them the Cliff's Notes versions of the Dune Shack controversy?
Sure. So there's 18 Dune Shacks out in the backshore of Provincetown and Truro. If you haven't been on a dune tour lately or gone hiking, you might actually not know they're back there. But they have a history that predates the National Seashore, way back before the 60s, that all the way to the Coast Guard era on those beaches. And they're in the hands of a few different kinds of people. There's nonprofits that run sort of a weekly lottery system, which is how a lot of us have been able to go out there at different times in our lives. There are some that are still in the hands of families who had them before the seashore was even created. There are others where there's sort of this like caretaker, as generations age, people step into the gap, they wind up taking care of a place for a really long time. So, Paul Tasha took care of Harry Kemp for his entire second half of his life. So Paul Tasha has taken care of Harry Kemp's shack since the 50s. The Park Service is re-renting 8 of these Dune Shacks, almost half of them, and there's a lot of controversy about the terms of those leases that they're offering. They're really short, Memorial Day to Labor Day. They're allowing people to compete on price, which is an option that the park has, but they didn't have to take that one. And they're also, what I've been reporting is there's this agreement that was developed among all the parties 10 years ago, where a dozen public meetings, a whole lot of process, lawyers, national park people, like they really sat down and figured out how it would be the most fair way to, let the public have an opportunity to sort of compete for these, but also really reward people who have experience, who have knowledge, who care about the cultural values and the traditions here, who care about public access and the arts, and they came to this big compromise on how this ought to work. And the park, what I've been reporting, has kind of just junked all that public work and is just using their standard lease that they use on a hot dog stand. So that's what we've been writing about, and that's why the select boards of Provincetown and Truro have objected to this RFP, and they're complaining to the Park Service about it.
I think there's, to zoom out, if I may, to zoom out a little bit on this into the context, there's a bunch of intangible values that I think are related to a lot of the changes that are going on all around the Outer Cape in terms of preserving the character and the community in the face of sort of corporatization and money. The Dune Shacks, they're a squatter settlement, but they're in public land. So they've always been in public ownership, most of them. There's a few that were privately owned. And so the public has always had access to them one way or another. When we were a community without institutions, there were many ways through the community connections that you would have a chance to experience the dunes. And the experience is the thing that is most valuable to all of us. Now that, once they were designated a historic district, the institutions had to come in, and the government has its way of working. But what I think is the most important value right now is having a conversation between the seashore and the community, the larger community, about how to preserve those values. I have an experience of the Dune Shacks from the 90s. It really launched me as an artist to be able to spend time there in the off season in the Dune Shack in a collaborative group of artists out there. And I wonder if that's still going to be possible, with this arrangement.
Well, if they have their way, it sounds like for these 8 shacks, you wouldn't even be able to stay in it after Labor Day.
So there's a question about, the terms of the RFP set hard dates on the season, and I've been told that's because you can't appraise a structure according to appraisal methods without a hard date based on a tourist season, and that don't worry, they'll be available in the off season, but there's no guarantee of that.
And what they studied 10 years ago was not that lease. Right. They have a whole process where, because it's a historic district, there's a lot of rules around how you act to make sure you're conserving not just the building, but the values that made it a historic district, right? It's not just architecture that made this worth saving. They studied all of the culture of the artists and writers, but also the long-term residents. They're all in a balance out there. And those leases that they came up with 10 years ago have terms on who should win the leases, how you should decide. There is, in the agreement, you could use a hybrid use, where, say, this is my shack in the summertime, but in the winter there's going to be this artist, and in every January there will be a writer's program, and then it'll be back to my shack in May. Like, that's a legitimate use in what they studied 10 years ago. Totally forbidden in what they're doing now. I asked that question. No nonprofit use, no programmatic artist and writer use. Like, all of that is very clearly forbidden in the current leases. They want something very simple and very controllable and very sort of cookie cutter. And so all the agreements they came to try to protect the values of the district have been ignored, which I kind of think is illegal, and that's what I've been reporting. Like, who has the standing to tell the park, you studied this under a bunch of laws, and you can't just neglect what you studied. Like, you have to do the thing you said you would do.
Mm-hmm. Well, do you have access to whoever it is that's actually making these decisions? Have you talked to somebody who's like, well, I, don't live there and don't know much about the community, and this was my decision to do this?
So 3 different agencies and a senator's office, all of their communication departments know me really well now. Mm-hmm. But you can't actually talk to the people. They fob you off to their communications department. And then you get this very massaged language that doesn't answer your questions, and no one will actually talk on the phone because that's too risky. So you're doing it all over. It's a mess. But when you try to push, especially the oversight agencies, there's a state historic officer who has the power to ask questions about why are you not doing what you said you would do. Mm-hmm. And there's a federal historic agency that has the independent power to ask questions like, why are you not doing what you said you would do? And they're like, they really don't want to have to be involved.
They actually don't have a basis for objecting yet, because you really have to see what the outcome of this leasing process is going to be and who gets the shacks and how they maintain them before we see if we're losing the character. Right now, it's all just kind of lease language. It's formalized, but that's why I think that we need to have more of a public conversation with the people making the decision before the leases are finalized, so that back in the 90s, the relationship between the seashore and the town was very contentious, and there were issues like off-road vehicles, dogs, nudity, even the use of the landfill, the transfer station, the airport. That was all up in the air, and there were conflicts everywhere. And the seashore, to their credit, I'm really kind of proud of this time when I was part of the seashore. They came to the town. They worked very hard, George Price, Maria Burks, and others, to try to get a relationship with the town and establish some common ground. And they did it. I think they did improve that relationship. And now it's time to actually reinforce the relationship between the seashore and the town with some face time.
Well, it seems like there was a relationship and they're abandoning that relationship with this new idea of leasing them, correct?
I mean, a lot of what I've focused on in the reporting is they did a huge amount of work. Seashore people and community people involved in the Dune Shacks, the nonprofits. They met together over and over and over to hammer this out. And they're just throwing all that work in the trash. And it's really dismissive of all the people who did it, from the community side and from the staff side. And they're, the decision's going to wind up being made in Philadelphia, which is the regional office. One of the things they negotiated 10 years ago was someone from the seashore would be an advisor when they go review these leases, to sort of help them filter through, like, no, this person can back up what they've said. They do know how to do this. Right. This person is using fancy talk. They don't. You probably can't just say, oh, I have a big budget, I can pay staff to do it. Like, actually, the staff that you can hire won't know how to get a Winkler crane out. You can't actually work that way. And they're not going to send a technical advisor. Stacey Ferguson, the woman who's running these leases, has told me, no one from the seashore will be in the room when they're deciding these leases. That's just one more of those agreements they broke from 10 years ago.
Wow.
I mean, I wouldn't say that they've thrown everything in the trash. I would just say that, like a lot of things in town, the generations have turned over and there's new people and they just don't know the history. They don't have the public memory of the work that's been done. Even though it's only 10, 20 years ago, very few people at the seashore were involved at that time. So they need to be part of the community. Obviously, they have a responsibility to the values of national parks, but they also have part of the creation of the Dune Shack district. I encourage everybody to go in and read the historic designation of the Peaked Hill Bar's Dune Shack district, because it's full of history. It's full of information about Harry Kemp, Hazel Hawthorne Werner, Eugene O'Neill. That's the origin of the character of the Dune Shack district, is these artists, people seeking a connection to nature. It's not real estate.
Right. And one of the things people will talk about, when I'm calling sources who were involved on this back into the 90s, is this is not the first episode in this story. This has been going on for decades in various kinds of turf. First it was lawsuits about who really owns it. Then there was, is it going to be a historic district? Then there was a whole ethnography decade where it was trying to find out if there's a traditional community who should have certain rights or not. And then after that came this sort of peace agreement where everyone comes to the table and hammers out these terms for how we're going to move forward. Right. And to ignore the peace agreement and treat it like real estate isn't just a coincidence, probably, and it's probably not just some, administrative, oops, somebody signed the wrong document. It probably, the sources I talk to will insist, and they may be right, that it should be seen as, one more chapter in a really long-running conflict about these Dune Shacks.
The proposals were already due, right?
No. So Thursday, June 15th, is when site tours will be happening out at the Dune Shacks.
Okay.
The applications are due July 3rd, and they can start awarding leases pretty much right away after July 3rd.
Wow.
So it's a really short timeline, especially for government agencies. Like Provincetown Select Board moved really fast. Churros did as well to sign letters objecting to all this. By the time you can turn a ship like the state historic officer to pay attention, like it could be over. So some of it is, the most recent thing I reported is these two agencies, the state and the federal one, like probably need to be asked overtly, probably by the select board or other people who have some standing, to get involved, probably in a letter, like specifically saying, please do this, X, Y, Z, please do it now. Signed, everybody. Because without really clear direction, you know, it all happens very fast.
One of the things that, one of the criteria being judged on the applications is like the ability and knowledge to upkeep the Dune Shack itself. How could you argue that anyone besides the people who have been doing it for the last 50, 60, 70 years would be better at it than them?
It's an interesting question. Well, it's only one of the scoring things,
Right.
and you could say, well, I've maintained this cabin in the woods, or you know, the idea that they're so unique that you have to have this specific knowledge may not be that widely held. Like that may be obvious to us,
right?
But the person in Philadelphia reviewing it may say, well, they had a cabin in Denver, like that's cool.
I'm
They know
like,
how
did
to
that
do
cabin in Denver get buried by sand once a year?
Maybe they
Probably
built
not.
a dozen cabins in Denver, or maybe they built a dozen cabins in Aspen. Like we
Right.
don't necessarily know what kind of, like, oh, I have the resources and the wherewithal to maintain things because I built, not to fearmonger, I built 100 cabins in Aspen. Like that could be competitive.
Yeah.
And your question kind of illuminates the challenge for anyone who's applying for one of these leases, because how will they know what they need to prove in order to show their experience out in the dunes?
And also, do the people judging the criteria know? You know what I mean?
We don't know who they are,
Right.
so and they are distant. They may not have any experience in the dunes here.
Do you guys know anyone who's applying?
I haven't, no. I mean, we do know that almost everyone who has a Dune Shack will be applying to
Right.
get another 10-year lease on their Dune Shack. We have not heard from anyone who has said they're applying. The thing is, the 10-year ago agreement still lets the public apply, still lets all kinds of people say, actually, I think I would be really good at this and I would like to do it and I'll do this and this and this. But it judges them on, you know, public access and arts and culture and traditional knowledge and commitment to these lists of values in the cultural district. And then with that in mind, you know, may the best application win. But
Did
they
you
stripped all
mention
that
the
away.
bid, the money bid?
Yeah, there was no money in the original version.
Right.
No,
the idea that you could bid up
I think that's the biggest fear that has been brought on by this is, and I imagine they're not being forthcoming about how each category will be weighted, and I think people are afraid that the, like, oh, if you're going to be able to maintain it, if you're going to respect the arts and history of it, are just lip service, and it's just whoever's going to give the most money to the park service. I think that's the fear people are
And it's an
having.
option. They didn't have to use that one.
Right.
You know, they used the very basic Code of Federal Regulations lease, of which number 6 is, if you want, you can have people bid up the rent, but you don't have to. Like, they could have done this without that.
Right.
It really puts the applicants in a tough spot, because what you need to do to apply is prove that you have the resources to maintain the shack, to pay for it, to do renovations. But how much is that? Do you throw down, you know, triple the assessed value in order to ensure that, you know, do you need to have that money in the bank for a 10-year period or just an annual period and show your income? It's like applying for a mortgage or something.
Wow. And as resources, you know, I have 4 adult children and 4 nephews, all of which spent summers out here and all of whom care about this place. And we know we have this pool of free labor who's, you know, skilled, you know, is that the resources we're talking about?
Can you argue that? Like, oh my, like, I'm sure people have their family, people involved in the upkeep of it, but can you argue, like, oh, my 15-year-old nephew comes down and digs it out every spring? Like, can you argue that?
Well, I mean, and the truth is most of the work out there is free labor, skilled labor, barn raising style stuff.
Yeah.
And there's no reason to expect that that's not going to be laughed out of the room in favor of, you know, me and my construction company.
Yeah.
I mean, they really can't be maintained without a kind of the ability to call on the community. Hey, come out and help us dig. that is the tradition. It's woven deeply into the history of the shacks. And I so much respect for the people who do that.
What needs to happen next?
Well, so it's a very short amount of time. The select boards could probably take another crack at these two agencies, the State Historic Preservation Officer and the federal one, and see if they can ask really hard questions, because those agencies can demand answers. They can actually, if they file a strong enough objection, get a stop work under this 2008 agreement between the Park Service and the two agencies. And they could theoretically put a halt to the RFP while they ask questions about why it's such a departure from the 10-year ago agreement. So that would be cool.
You know, I wouldn't even put it in such harsh terms. There needs to be a conversation. There needs to be more information, first-hand information from local to local, before there's a commitment made that could change the future of these. So they aren't even hard questions, they're easy questions. You know, what are the criteria and who's going to be judging them, and do they have the right information? And do you have a connection to the community, and will there be community access in some form or other?
Thanks so much for coming, guys.
Everybody, ask your select person to reach out. I mean, it's going to take people like that, you're saying.
Yeah, there's meetings on Monday and Tuesday, I believe, in both towns, and it probably will. I mean, even, I don't want to make it sound like a magic bullet, like, two of the best select boards which we have, like, they're doing great, and these are hard agencies to move. Like, that letter could get sent, and it could still go to the circular file in Washington.
Yeah.
But it's on our side here in these towns, like, we know that this is a local commitment to keep these values alive of this historic district. We know it's important to people, so, you know, we can at least do that part, and then it comes to a lot of, you know, hopes and prayers that the historic preservation officers decide that it's worth their time to care.
I think it's also important to say that the Peaked Hill Trust and the Community Compact, the two nonprofits that have shacks, will continue. This doesn't affect those. And that, you know, personally, I think that model has worked so well to give so many people access to this experience. I mean, people are thrilled to be out there for a few days. So why can't that model be extended to additional shacks? But I don't want people to think that they're shutting down the dunes. The nonprofits are still there and need to be supported.
Of course.
They are. I'll add, one of the sources I spoke to said, listen, if they can force what was long-term residential use into a Memorial Day to Labor Day box and take what used to be, you know, decades of access and people coming out every winter to do maintenance work and put it in that confinement, this source argued, I don't think you can assume that they couldn't do that to the nonprofits 5 years from now. That April to November, which is the season that, you know, that we get to participate in lotteries. The last time I was out in Fowler was November. Like, that may or may not survive 5 years from now. Like, if they can change the terms on the long-term people, they can change the terms on the nonprofits too.
It's essential to keep that access. And for people out there that haven't had a chance to go out there, I'd encourage them to apply to those lotteries, get a chance to be out there.
It's magical.
It really should be something that more of the community can experience.
And at the very least, take a dune tour. I've taken a few, all with Paul. And just the knowledge you get to learn, you will leave that dune tour with a full appreciation of the Dune Shacks and everything they've offered the town for the last almost century. So
yeah, they're really special places, and that's why people are so wound up about them, and that's why it gets so much attention, not just this year, but over the course of decades from this place. So.
And you can also check out coverage that Paul has been writing, some really incredible articles covering all of it for the past month, and I'm sure you have some others coming up in the pipeline as things develop.
Yeah, we're not done yet.
Okay. So grab a copy of the Provincetown Independent. It covers incredible stuff, but specifically the dunes, they're doing a really great job with that. So
thank you for your time, gentlemen, and your
Thank
hard
you.
work.
yeah,
Thanks,
and we'll
guys.
keep in touch to make sure we keep our viewers abreast. So
Awesome.
Thanks for watching, everybody.
Yeah, thank you to our sponsors, the Crown and Anchor, the Provincetown Brewing Company, the Boat Slip, Shipwreck at the Brass Key, the Provincetown Business Guild.
Thanks for waking up in Provincetown.
Wherever you are.
And we'll see you next Friday.
Yeah.